Today on the Health Unmasked podcast, liver toxicity, toxic bile, weight loss stalls and struggles, your body's number one detoxification pathway and what happens if it stays stuck, how your digestion works, how to get it back on track, acid reflux, GERD, gallstones, and all kinds of fun stuff. Coming up now on the Health Unmasked podcast. Stay with us. Hey everybody, welcome to the Health Unmasked podcast. This is Karl Pilz, your host. With me is the other host, Dr. Eric Ginter. How's it going, Eric?
Hey guys, how you doing, man? How's it going, Karl?
Not too bad. So today we're going to talk about liver issues, toxic livers, toxic bile, your body's number one way of getting rid of toxins, and all kinds of stuff. Like what people tend to have weight loss stall troubles. That's something that I saw a lot of. People would start, get on a diet and they would start losing weight and then they would stall and they wouldn't know why. So a lot of this has to do with your liver and how toxic it is and your bile production and all that stuff. So let's talk, Eric, what do you see in your practice about, what kind of symptoms people are experiencing, how they pertain to liver issues and all that stuff?
I mean, when it comes down to the liver is one of the most important organs that we have in our body. It's related to so many different conditions with people that present with gut dysfunction, blood sugar imbalances, proper digestion, energy production. It's just implicated in so many things, and you really have to be able to understand the process of how the liver functions and how the bile is synthesized, created, and what its use is for too. So the liver and the bile function is just paramount when we're dealing with chronic conditions.
Mm-hmm. Like what type of symptoms do you see people coming in with that after evaluation you start learning? It's like, yeah, we should start looking at your liver.
Yeah. So, you can have energy problems, you can have gut dysbiosis, digestion issues, constipation, diarrhea, blood sugar regulation, increased pain because of inflammation. There's just a whole host of things that when you're looking at the lab work, you have to be able to understand the liver and what the lab work is showing you.
Mm-hmm. So when I started digging into this, for a lot of different reasons, like I started to try to really understand, how your liver and your biliary system works. And like, it really struck me how a lot of doctors who, their patients will come in with different types of problems and the doctor will say, oh, we'll just take out your gallbladder. Like they'll have gallstones or something like that. And the doctor will say, well, we'll just remove your gallbladder. You don't really need it. And once you learn how this system works, you're like, oh my Lord, that's like the worst thing that you could possibly do.
Yeah.
And like one thing that people don't realize is that your liver is meant to, screen your blood and fish toxins out of your bloodstream. That's one of its major functions. And it takes all those toxins and it packages them up in your bile. So if you were to like cross section a liver, there would be all these little pockets and these catacombs almost of little pockets inside your liver. And a lot of people's have stones in them, which are hardened bile. But that's where the bile starts to accumulate. And that's where your liver is packaging up all the toxins to then be removed from your body. So your liver will take this bile and through this, biliary network of little passages through your liver, the bile comes out and starts accumulating in your gallbladder. So your gallbladder stores bile, and what it does is it accumulates the bile and it kind of thickens it a little bit. Because when you eat, the first thing, what happens when you eat food is the food will come down into your stomach and it will get acidified. And the stomach acid is meant to kill off bacteria. Like this, we're going through the process of digestion. This is really important to understand. You eat food, it goes into your stomach, gets acidified to kill any bacteria and start the digestive process. Then, as the food moves out of your stomach, it goes into the beginning of your small intestine, and that's where the bile duct comes from the gallbladder into the beginning of your small intestine, and it squirts bile on the food mass as it's coming through. And the bile has a very alkaline pH, and it's mixing with food coming out of your stomach that has a very acidic pH. So when you have highly acidic and highly alkaline mixing, now you have the grade school experiment that everybody used to make that when you mix vinegar with baking soda, you have that big explosion. We usually turned it into a volcano, but that's what happens in your intestines. And that explosion, basically, when the bile mixes with the stomach acid, that explosion is where the majority of digestion happens. The foods are broken apart, like proteins are broken up. From protein, they're broken down into individual amino acids. And, carbs are broken down into simple sugars. Whole fats are broken down into individual fatty acids. And that's where things get broken apart so that they can be absorbed into your bloodstream. But the bile, in addition to, when your bile gets squirted from your gallbladder and the bile gets squirted onto your food, in addition to it providing that explosion for digestion, the bile also is carrying all those toxins from your liver. And the purpose is that while the bile is coming to create that explosion, it's also taking the toxins to basically hitch a ride on that food mass to go through your intestines and then leave the next time you go to the bathroom. So if the process of your liver fishing out toxins from your bloodstream and packaging them up in the bile, and your bile going and mixing with your food when you eat, and then the bile and the toxins leaving your system, if that whole passage is obstructed, then that is your body's number one method of getting rid of toxins. That's the absolute biggest way that your body can get rid of toxins is through that pathway. And if you block that, then you start seeing serious issues. One of the biggest ones are skin issues, eczema, and all kinds of rashes, because the number two pathway is through your skin. So, but that's how the system is designed to work. So I wanted to let everybody know, make everybody aware that's how the system is kind of designed to work. Eric, did you see anything wrong with what I just said? Anything that I missed?
No, I mean that is exactly what we should have in a normal functioning person. But there's so many hangups in that synthesis of bile all the way through to when it exits the body. And the interesting thing is, only 5% of the bile is exiting the body. 95% of it's going back to the liver. Mm-hmm. So if we're not eliminating properly and we're dehydrated, or we don't have the proper proteins like glycine and taurine to create and synthesize that bile, I mean, there's so many steps that can cause problems for people that are trying to eliminate toxins and bad bacteria and fats and all different things like that. So it's a very intricate process, and it can get hung up on so many different levels.
Okay, let's dig into that a little bit, because what I usually focused on, because I started figuring out that a lot of what gallstones are is hardened bile. And if people have gallstones, then they can be very painful, but they're also blocking a huge mechanism in your body that your body uses to basically purify itself and make itself better.
Yeah, and a lot of times gallstones come simply from being dehydrated.
Yeah, right.
And then when you pack on a fatty liver, I mean, you're talking about gumming up that whole process there, and that just results in blood sugar problems. It results in inflammation. It results in increase of bad bacteria in your digestive system. It's just a whole cascade of events.
Mm-hmm. And you were talking to me one time about toxic bile. Again, can you describe what that concept kind of entails?
Yeah, I mean, if you're reabsorbing all that bile back to your liver, and you're continuing this process where you're not eliminating properly and you're not binding to those toxins, and you're circulating that bile in your body and into your digestive system, you're creating just a much bigger cascade of events that you have to handle if you really want to escape any chronic condition that you're dealing with.
Yeah, right. And it's crazy because the gallstones, like if somebody goes to their doctor and they say, I'm having these pains, and they find out they're gallstones, the doctor will tell them, a lot of times the doctor will say, well, let's just take out your gallbladder. You don't need it. That's what they'll say. And it's like, oh my God, you're taking out your gallbladder, which means your gallbladder is meant to receive the bile from your liver and concentrate it, store it up so that its tank is full enough, and it's the right viscosity, so that when you eat a meal, there's enough bile in there and it's the right consistency to properly mix with your food and create that kaboom of digestion right there in your intestines. And if you take out your gallbladder, one, you're not accumulating enough, so you don't have enough bile at any one point in time. It's not the right viscosity, so it's not doing its correct job, and you wonder why people, have digestive issues. If you take out your gallbladder, you pretty much have to take a supplement like ox bile or something like that for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I mean, it's you can't break down essential fatty acids like you could before. You're not going to absorb and digest fat soluble vitamins like D, E, and K.
Hmm.
The bad bacteria is going to grow in your digestive system. You're not going to regulate blood sugar properly. Your cholesterol numbers are going to get out of whack, so to speak. Your energy is going to decrease. Your oxygen production, it's just like I was saying, and you're saying, it's a whole cascade of things and a whole cascade of problems once you go and do something drastic like remove the gallbladder.
Yeah, right. And when you have this system where the food is supposed to go into your stomach and get acidified, and then it's supposed to mix with the bile that is highly alkaline, there's supposed to be this explosion. If that explosion doesn't happen because one of two things, I mean, either your stomach acid isn't acidic enough, and people, if they're having like GERD or severe acid reflux, the problem is likely that you have too little stomach acid rather than too much stomach acid. Your stomach isn't acidic enough.
Well, that's exactly right. And if you're not breaking down protein, you're not formulating and creating the proper enzymes that you need for the bile, and you're not getting the glycine and the taurine, which is a crucial step in the function of bile. And it's just like
Yeah, it's such a can of worms. But when you
yeah,
go, if the system is your food is supposed to be acidic enough, and then you're supposed to have bile, which is alkaline enough, and you have enough of it, that when the two mix, that explosion of digestion, where the proteins are broken down into amino acids, the fats are broken down into fatty acids, like
yep,
that's one of the problems that people are developing autoimmunity like crazy these days.
yep,
And one of the issues is they have leaky gut, which means you have holes in your digestive system. But a big problem is that they're not digesting properly because of this. Either they don't have enough bile, or their stomach acid is messed up. They don't have that explosion, and so instead of amino acids like tryptophan and tyrosine and glycine and all that stuff going into their intestines, and the individual fatty acids, instead of those going
yep,
into intestines, what's going into these people's intestines is hot dog or
yep,
or olive oil or
yep,
trans oil, and your body doesn't know what to do with those. And since
right.
you have
And if
holes in your gut, that stuff is getting into your bloodstream. Your body doesn't
yep.
recognize it. It turns on its immune system. It sends out its immune cells, and now you have autoimmunity.
And to add to that, which is interesting, is when you're eating that fat and you're not able to break that fat down, well, then you're not producing the lipoproteins that you need to feed your immune system. And if you're creating an autoimmune disease, you're not able to mitigate that problem, right?
Yeah, right.
And you're not breaking that fat down enough, so you can't protect your nervous system with the protective coverings. You can't form new cell walls because that's 85% of the new cell wall is the cholesterol, and you're not forming hormones properly.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yep.
I mean, there's so many things that tie back to the liver and the bile and the healthy creation of that and the healthy function of that, that it's a very overlooked system. And it's something that in functional medicine, I think is going to be something that is a major breakthrough when people start understanding the function of how this stuff works.
Yeah, right. When I had my last business and people were losing, they would start getting on these paleo diets or keto diets or like a slow carb diet or something like that, something with high fiber carbs and whatnot, and they would start to lose weight, and then they would hit a plateau and they would get stuck. And they would hit a stall, and they were like, "What was going on?" That was one of the reasons why I kind of dove into this, was because one of the things that your body does is in your fat cells. That's where your body packs up a lot of its toxins,
Yeah,
especially if it can't get rid of it.
exactly. When you can't use fat for fuel, you have a problem.
Yeah, right. And so if you start losing weight all of a sudden and your fat cells are being, broken down for fuel, all of a sudden the toxins that were stored in those fat cells, they start coming into your bloodstream. So your bloodstream actually gets more toxic. So your liver has to do more work to package those toxins up. And if your bile system isn't moving, those toxins are going into your liver and they can't go anywhere. So at some
Yep.
point the whole system starts to break and you hit a stall. You can't break down fat anymore because everything is just so toxic and it just seizes up.
Yep, and the inflammation causes not the lack of nutrients getting into the cells and the lack of waste getting out. So
Yeah.
it's just you just build a big fire.
Yeah, right. So what are some of the things that like when people come into your clinic, what are some of the tests that you run to find all this out and figure out where the exact problem is and all that stuff? What process do you put people through?
Well, what we have to understand is what's in the body that's not supposed to be there. that we have to determine what type of toxins are in the body. And so we run a general screen that has a bunch of different tests in them that are not normally traditionally run. And it lets us know how the liver's functioning, what kind of inflammation's in the body. We run a metabolic assessment that tells us what type of symptoms people are having. So basically, when we take the intake, we want to be able to correlate that with this general screen to understand what's happening in the body, what could possibly be the cause of what's there and what's not supposed to be there, and then we dig deeper to find out what we need to get rid of. So
what are some of the
I mean, you can have
biggest
heavy
things that pop
metals.
up?
Yeah, so I mean, heavy metals, plastics, herbicides, pesticides, environmental chemicals, and then with the microbiome, you're looking at all kinds of microorganisms that could be there that shouldn't be there, all coming from bile not working properly, right? Like all those things we're talking about.
Yep.
And we want to get a good, clear picture of what's happening inside the body that shouldn't be there.
Okay, then what type of programs or something like that do you put people on, whether it's from a dietary perspective or supplements, that like what do you tend to have people do?
Yeah, so one of the things that we like to do is what we call a metabolic clearing process. We're aiming at getting the liver and the bile and the skin and the lungs, the digestive system, the bladder, the colon, everything to start getting rid of these toxins. So we have to make sure that those things are functioning properly, because without that function, we go back to all those things that we just discussed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a series of things that they take. But that's generally where we start, is a metabolic clearing, because the process has to work before you go in there and you target the toxins, because if you're not eliminating them initially, you're just going to restore them somewhere else.
Yeah, right. So when I was helping people do this and get over these weight loss stalls and things like that, one of the biggest things that people have to do is, like, when you have a problem of the problem is all these toxins are accumulating and they're not going anywhere.
Right.
So one of the first things that you have to do is you have to stop as much of these toxins coming into your body as much as you can.
Exactly.
So you really have to start taking your diet pretty seriously.
Pretty seriously. Yep.
So yeah, so you stop the influx, but then you have to do a couple of things. Like, one, if you really want digestion to work properly, like I was talking before, if your stomach acid isn't acidic enough, or you don't have enough bile stored up, or your bile is hardened to stone, so it's not flowing properly, then you don't get that explosion that is digestion. And if those whole undigested foods, the undigested proteins and all that stuff, get into your body treats those as toxins. So
Yep.
you have to do things to make your digestion work properly, and one of those things is acidifying your stomach acid. A lot of people have acid reflux or GERD or something like that, and they'll go to their doctor and they'll complain about the reflux, and the doctor will say, well, we'll give you some prescription antacids or some Prilosec or something like that, or some proton pump inhibitors or something like that. And because they think that the problem is too much stomach acid, when it's actually the opposite. It's
the opposite, and it's the organic acids in the food that haven't been digested, which gives them that feeling of acid reflux.
Yeah, well, and there's also the on the top of your stomach is the lower esophageal sphincter. It's a valve that closes off, and it's supposed to close off like when any of your stomach acid splashes upwards, because your stomach is lined to handle all the stomach acid, and but your esophagus is not. So if you like lay on your back and your stomach acid swashes forward up on that valve is supposed to close off so the acid doesn't come up your esophagus. And what triggers that valve to close is a certain level of acidity. And if your stomach acid isn't acidic enough, then it won't be enough to trigger that valve to close all the way. So you're going to be laying on your back and you're going to have acid come up into your esophagus just because that valve didn't close. And right. The easiest way that I've gotten people to fix that is simply by taking salt, because your body makes stomach acid. A big ingredient is the salt. Salt is sodium chloride. Your stomach acid is hydrochloric acid.
Hydrochloric acid. You have to have salt. to
Yep.
create hydrochloric acid.
And everybody is told by their doctors to, one, lower your salt intake for blood pressure, and then because of that low salt intake, you start getting acid reflux, and they tell you to take a drug to lower your acid even further, which will make the problem even worse. It's unbelievable once you go down this rabbit hole how bad this is.
Yeah. I mean, then you're not forming enzymes, you're not breaking down proteins, you're not building. I mean, it's a huge problem.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And the salt is a major component to helping people.
Mm-hmm. When I get if I get acid reflux, like if I have a couple of days where I eat stuff that I'm not supposed to, either I eat, I'm on a golf trip or something like that, and I start eating some sandwiches that are made out of white bread at the turn or something like that, or pizza or whatnot. A lot of it's grains. If I eat like white grains, white carbs or something like that, I'll get acid reflux. And the quickest way that I fix it is I'll take a shot of the me and my wife make a mixture of salt and vitamin C and cream of tartar, which is heavy potassium. We make that mixture and we basically take a shot of it, mix it with some water and drink it. And that gets minerals in your system, and it'll start using that. Your body will start using that salt to rebuild your stomach acid. But also, I'll take a little shot, like a half a shot of apple cider vinegar. That's acid, and it's amazing. 20 minutes later, the acid reflux is gone. Now, I don't do that all the time. Just once every couple of months, I'll do that. But it works, and it shows you that doing that once will show you that the problem is not too much stomach acid. The problem is too little.
Right. That's right. And taking that sodium and that potassium, I mean, you're just helping your body with the sodium potassium pump, getting things in and out of the cells.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we make this mix that we've been doing for a couple of years now. It's that salt and vitamin C powder and the cream of tartar for potassium, because potassium is actually decently hard to get from food. Everybody thinks you can get plenty from bananas. It's not. You don't. It's actually harder to get than people think. And I have on my website, if people go to my website and go to the shop page, I have a 2-page recipe on how to mix those things properly together and how we take them. It's $5, but people can go there and get my recipe. And we take that every day. We take a shot of that every day. We put a quarter teaspoon of that in all of our water that we drink, because we really think that the lack of minerals is one of the biggest things that people are missing. It's one of the biggest things that people need to supplement. I think 99% of people. I think
that probably is the case. People think they're vitamin deficient, and the one that they're probably deficient in are a B complex, because a lot of people won't methylate their Bs properly. But besides that, it's going to be minerals, no question.
Like if I miss my minerals for 2 days, I can tell I am tired, I am cranky, my digestion isn't working right. Like if I'm constipated in a little bit, I can look back over the last 24, 48 hours, and I can probably tell that I haven't been taking my minerals like I should be.
Yeah, it's funny with constipation too. Like if you take a little bit more salt right away,
oh God, yep,
that constipation will be done.
So yeah, it's pretty crazy. But that was good for now. We might talk about this again here in the future, because there's so much more that we can go into, like flushes and all that stuff that I've done myself to get rid of bile stones, and a lot of the things that you do with clients. But for this one, was there anything else you wanted to say to kind of bookend this?
No, I mean, I think it's just important that people understand how important or how crucial that the liver function and the bile function is for a number of levels. I mean, it's the digestion of the essential fatty acids, it's the digestion and absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. You have to support the GI microbiome. You have to make sure that you're killing the bad bacteria. It assists you with blood sugar balance and lipid regulation, energy production, having the amount of oxygen that you need to get to your cells, decreases inflammation, helps you regenerate your liver. When you're having a chronic condition, if you're not taking a close look at the liver and the function of the bile, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, yep. Totally agree with that. This is something that people absolutely have to get an understanding of and start taking steps to do something to better it. Otherwise, you're going to have big trouble. If your body can't get rid of toxins, you're going to have big problems going forward.
Yeah, with all different systems of your body.
Yep. So, okay, we'll come back and we'll continue this conversation in another episode about more. What can people go to your website and find? You have your program that you have going on.
Yeah, so my practice website is modernhealthinstitute.com. I help a lot of people with blood sugar imbalance problems and helping them reverse type 2 diabetes. That's kind of my focus. I do help with chronic conditions as well, but reversing type 2 diabetes is a focus that I have because there's so many people that deal with insulin resistance. And the more I'm seeing, the more I theorize that insulin resistance could be a root cause of a lot of chronic conditions. So
Hmm.
that's a program that I have called 9daybloodsugar.breakthrough.com. That's the website for that. I offer a short course on how people can start changing that process, and that's 9daybloodsugar.breakthrough.com. So how
Okay.
about you?
Right on. Yeah, my website, truthandjalapenos.com. And both of our websites you can find if you just go to healthunmasked.co. That's the website for this podcast. You can find both our websites. But mine is truthandjalapenos.com. And I have all kinds of stuff like free mini courses on how weight loss works, how energy and focus works, and all that stuff. And I have a lot of recipe packs, like things that, like, I have some things that where I have nailed down the 10-minute dinner and how to make dinners healthy like super quick, like unbelievably quick. And so I have some recipe packs on there that you can download. They're $5 a piece. It's nothing. I have free guides on there too that you can download to look at different topics. But I have a lot of stuff there that's really helpful for people. None of it's expensive. You can sign up to talk to me if you want to and whatnot. So that's at truthandjalapenos.com. But for both of our websites, you can go to healthunmasked.co and you can find buttons to link to both of our websites. Okay. All right. Good talking to you, man.
You too, buddy.
All
Great
right.
talk.
Take it easy.
See you, man.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We hope you found this one helpful and interesting. Join us next time when we talk about how weight loss works. You're not going to want to miss this one because this makes everything so much easier when you understand how the process works and how it goes wrong and how to make it right. And again, if you want any of our free guides or resources to help you learn or to help you save time cooking, head to healthunmasked.co and you can find links to both of our websites there. Dr. G has a bunch of free guides on his website talking about insulin resistance and the real culprits behind it, and all kinds of guides on his zone technique that he practices in his clinic, which is one of the techniques that has helped my family a ton. And you can also find his 9-day blood sugar breakthrough program there. And if you go to my website, I have all kinds of free guides and stuff like that, like how to get your husband and kids to eat more vegetables, why you're always feeling tired, resetting your appetite, headaches and migraines, how to fuel your kids right for sports, all kinds of stuff like that. And I also have programs like recipe packs and how to cook vegetables really quick during the week. I have one on smart alcohol drinking, how you can still enjoy while you're getting healthy, and all kinds of stuff like that. A lot of fun stuff on our websites. So head to healthunmasked.co and you can find all of it. Okay, thanks everybody and have a great one.